Why are Man United so bad? Guys, welcome to the channel. I just thought I had to approach the subject of Manchester United for this video because after their loss at home to Crystal Palace from a Joachim Anderson inspired thunder blaster into the top corner, Manchester United currently sit in 10th place in the Premier League, having won 3, lost 4. They've only scored 7 goals and have conceded 11. It's been a terrible start for Ten Hag's men, and I really wanted to go into why that was. If you like the idea behind this video and you want to see some more videos, please do follow the channel. It's at Barnaby Slater _ on YouTube, and also you can find me at Barnaby Slater _ on Instagram and at Barnaby Slater on TikTok. So let's get to it. Why are Manchester United so bad? I want to start with the manager, Erik Ten Hag. I'm a Spurs fan, so I know about Ten Hag from all the way back in 2019 when he was manager of Ajax. And he had that Ajax team playing some unbelievable football. In the semi-final of the Champions League home leg at Spurs, they beat us 1-0 and they played us off the park. And interestingly, one of the best players in their team, they had great players all through. They had Ziyech, they had De Ligt. But one of the best players was Donny van der Beek. And he went to Manchester United, a big heralded signing. And for some reason, he is another good example of players who have all the talent, but it doesn't quite work out at Manchester United. But I'll get on to some more of that. I want to talk about Ten Hag's style. Like I said, at Ajax, he had them playing quick, 1- and 2-touch football, kind of classic Dutch total football, really. And I think he came into Manchester United at the beginning of last season with a keen idea to do exactly the same. However, despite some really good pre-season results, they beat Liverpool, famously, I think that was in America. It all looking good in pre-season. They then had a really difficult start. They lost at home to Brighton in the first game. Let's face it though, a lot of teams lost home and away to Brighton last season, and when it was Potter at the time, but when Potter's team play well, they can beat anyone, and since then, De Zerbi has taken it on a notch, and they play even better football now and beat the big teams home and away quite often. But then they went to Brentford and lost 4-0. And I think one of the reasons that United are still kind of in a bit of a malaise is I think Ten Hag slightly changed his style after that. I think he went in there with kind of best laid plans of it being kind of one style and nothing else, and that being exactly what he was doing at Ajax. Quick, passing, moving football, players moving around in positions a lot, being incredibly brave on the ball, back to front. But when he had 2 bad results starting in the Premier League last season, I think suddenly he was like, okay, the Premier League's a bit different. I have to play it a bit different. And the main memory I have of really noticing that was that David De Gea in the pre-season was really being coached and told he had to play it short, But in those first couple of games, there were a couple of iffy moments with De Gea, ball at his feet. He was never very good with his feet. But from then, I feel like he was being told after that, okay, sometimes you can kick it long. And that kind of change of style, starting from the back and then obviously kind of giving other players permission to be like, oh, well, if I get in trouble, maybe I have to be less brave on the ball as well. That has kind of meant that there seems to be like a kind of half and half style behind Ten Hag. He still wants it to be, quick tempo, good passing football, but sometimes if the danger zone, if the danger comes on, then, get rid of it, play it long, play it into the channels. And that can work, but I think it's kind of mixed messages. And I have to say, as I mentioned, I'm a Spurs fan, and I've seen firsthand, up close, what Postecoglou has done when he's come in. And Spurs were definitely starting from a lower base under Postecoglou than Ten Hag was. And certainly they have a lot less kind of, what the press would say, big name players in their team. And one thing you could say, I would start by saying, I think Postecoglou is just a one-message man. His message is very simply, I want it to be brave, back to front. I want you to take risks on the ball, and all the responsibility is on me. If you mess it up, just like in the Arsenal game away, James Maddison came to get the ball off his own back four, put his foot on the ball, and he was pickpocketed by Gabriel Jesus, and Jesus should have scored, and he didn't. But Postecoglou said it after the game. He said, all I said to Maddison is, keep doing it. It's on me. I will take the responsibility because that's what I've told you to do. And I don't know if Man United are being brave enough. I think they have to go full. Like, what is the strategy? It's got to be one or the other. I don't think you can be in the middle. And that is my feeling. They need to be completely brave. They've bought a goalkeeper solely for this, Anana. unbelievable with the ball at his feet. He needs to just be 100% that way. No long balls. Get your centre halves to come and get the ball off you. Get your fullbacks getting the ball off you. And then you can really make it happen. But one thing I'd say that is in Postecoglou's benefit, rather than Manchester United and Ten Hag's, is that he now has kind of got, whereas Spurs under Conte were buying kind of what Conte would call ready-made players, Paratici, the former sporting director at Spurs, has basically been buying young players. And now Postecoglou's come in and he's got young players to coach, and they are more malleable. And if he says you can do that, there's none of them being like, well, I've won loads of things elsewhere, Champions Leagues like Varane has, and I'm captain of my country, or, nobody's really saying that to him. They're just being exactly kind of told what to do, and they're agreeing with it, and they're playing that way, and they're playing beautifully. Ten Hag has bigger egos to deal with. That's something that Postecoglou's done really well, actually, is kind of ridded the club of a lot of the egos. I'm not suggesting we wanted Harry Kane to go, but it's definitely easier for him to kind of tell those players what to do. And maybe Manchester United need to have a change of strategy. Maybe they need to go a bit younger in their purchases. Obviously, they bought Rasmus Højlund. He looks like a talent. He hasn't scored yet, but he looks like a talent, very quick. Maybe they need to buy a few more of those rather than your Casemiros. Maybe they just need a little bit of a change of strategy. It would be a long-term vision, though. Very brave. And Manchester United fans especially, they need victories now. So it's a difficult one, but I do think the style is a bit of an issue. Second thing I want to talk about is obviously a difficult one, but the kind of personal issues that have happened to some of Manchester United's biggest names. Mason Greenwood, obviously, Jadon Sancho, and more recently, Antony. There's just no doubt that those things are going to affect a football club. Of course they are. If those players were 100% fit and free of any personal issues, they'd be playing. They'd be playing for Manchester United. I mean, those players on their best are worth over 350 million pounds. And to have lost all of those players over the course of a season and a half, couple of seasons, it's a huge loss. But it's a kind of thing, feels like a thing that follows Manchester United about. I don't know if there's an element of, you're playing for the biggest club in the world and therefore your ego expands and you start to feel like you can do whatever you want. But I'll kind of leave the Greenwood situation away from this because, it's legal stuff and it's disgusting. But what I'd say about Sancho seems to be like his ego is unwilling to apologise to the manager. Now, I don't doubt that they've had a falling out and that, maybe Sancho feels like Ten Hag should have played him more and the results, especially this season, haven't been great, so why wouldn't he be playing? But your job as a footballer is to be managed by the manager. The manager is pretty much, not the literal CEO of the club, but in terms of on-field matters, he is the person in charge. You've just got to listen to that. And you're not going to win a battle against the manager. I mean, I guess there's a chance, like back in the day, Alan Shearer kind of hung it out when Ruud Gullit was not playing him at Newcastle. And in the end, it was Gullit who kind of lost and he got sacked first. And so Shearer then won that battle. But I don't think Jadon Sancho is a big enough player to do that. And I also don't think he's played well enough for Manchester United to do it. I've heard rumours that, he stays up all night playing computer games and like FIFA and stuff. And I don't know if it's true. That might be complete bullshit. But the reality is he's not done well enough for Manchester United to have this ego where he's saying, I need the manager to apologise to me. And that's why he's training with the reserve team. But it's a huge loss, those players, to Manchester United. And, it does seems to be like the old Mario Balotelli. Why always me for the Manchester United players? Next thing I want to talk about as to one of the reasons why I think Manchester United are doing so badly, an unwillingness for them to spend big money. And I mean like proper big money on players who they actually need. And I think the perfect example, as hard as it was for me to think about, Harry Kane. Everybody has known that Manchester United needed a Harry Kane for years. Years. I cannot believe Martial's still at that club. I know he had a decent game in the Carabao Cup the other night. But he's proven pretty much since the year he got there, he's not good enough to be Manchester United's number 9. Harry Kane, perfect number 9 for Manchester United. Now, I'm not suggesting actually that Harry Kane would have looked at Manchester United last season and thought, oh, they are definitely going to be the team who's going to win me the trophies that I so desperately strive for because I get the piss taken out of me so much for not winning trophies. I think Bayern Munich is actually a far greater decision when it comes to knowing that he's definitely going to win silverware. I think, at Man United, you're going to win a League Cup or an FA Cup every so often, and they do regularly, and obviously they won a UEFA Cup a few years ago, Europa League, sorry. But I think Kane wants, titles, and he wants the Champions League, and that's why he went for Bayern Munich. But Manchester United weren't even willing to put the money up to bid. Now, what I'd also say is, I think Bayern Munich got Harry Kane for about 100 million, or possibly going up to about 120 million. Man United would have had to bid 150 million to get him in terms of the kind of Premier League to Premier League club tax and English player to English club tax. But Manchester United of old, under Sir Alex, I hate to sound like the pundits, I'm going to talk about them, but they did what it took to get the best players out of the English clubs, the players who are proven in the Premier League. And Manchester United are just not doing that anymore. Should have done it with Kane. They should have put 150 million up. I know he only had one season left on his contract, but it would have made Levy blink, and they might have had a chance of getting him. Maybe they should have gone for that a couple of seasons ago. But they need to spend that kind of bigger money, and if they're not, then they're not going to get the players who are guaranteed. The other option, like I mentioned before, is go for a complete change of strategy where it's kind of all younger players with potential, sprinkled in with your Fernandezes and the Varans and the players with experience in the club already, because it can't be just like Football Manager where you just buy the best young talent in the world. We've seen from Chelsea. They can't do that. It doesn't work at the moment. I'll definitely be doing a video on Chelsea soon, by the way, because I was tempted to call this video Manchester United are a joke club, but I didn't, because Chelsea are the joke club. Anyway, I mentioned the pundits. That's another reason I think United do badly. The pundits now, the ex-players of Manchester United, they pile the pressure on the current incumbents of the shirt, the players. Your Gary Nevilles, your Paul Scholes, your Roy Keanes. They talk all the time. Oh, when I played for United under Sir Alex, yeah, it was a completely different era though. They don't know what it's like being a modern day footballer, and they shouldn't pretend to know. There are so many different facets now to how it was in their day. I'm not saying it was easy in their day, far from it. And let's not forget, Sir Alex Ferguson nearly got sacked in his first 5 years at the club. But it's just very different now, and the game is played in a different way, and I don't think it's as simple as that. And it's very similar to after the kind of great Liverpool teams of the 70s and 80s. They had a huge wait of like 20, 30 years before they won anything. And a lot of that was down to the big pundits of the time. It was kind of at the beginning of Sky, but more like the BBC. Alan Hansen, Mark Lawrenson, former defenders for Liverpool, who would just talk on and on and on about how these Liverpool teams under Graham Souness or Roy Evans or Gerard Houllier were not as good or competent as the teams they played in. And it's self-defeating. They wanted Liverpool to win, but they were putting more pressure on the players to compete, and the public listened to it. And why wouldn't you listen to it? They're the people who are being employed to kind of tell you more about football than you know yourself, because you've never played in the top level. So I think that pressure from ex-pundits really doesn't help. I want to talk about a little bit about what I think of as entitlement amongst Manchester United fans, and specifically kind of home fans at Old Trafford. I sometimes watch United play away and think the pressure's off them more, because at Old Trafford you hear very quickly the kind of unsettled lack of atmosphere there when they're not doing as well as the United fans deem they should be. The old attack. And if they're not doing it, it gets very quiet very quickly. And just, I feel like that almost like it gives the opposition a huge lift. And sometimes it feels like that Anderson goal for Palace at the weekend sucks the ball in. A goal that Anderson would never normally score. But Palace had kind of unsettled Man United. Hodgson played as Hodgson does, an organised style of play. And they scored one and they held on, and it's happened more and more and more over the last few years, and it will continue to, I think, until United can do what, it's hard for me to say, but what Arsenal have done under Arteta. They've really turned the Emirates into a force, like a force of momentum, and St James's Park under Eddie Howe as well, and under the Saudis. It's now like all the fans love going there, and they love watching their team play because they're playing good football, quick football, and really using that atmosphere to get at teams from early on. So I think Old Trafford fans need to do that a little bit more. I can imagine Man United fans screaming at this at the moment, going, "You haven't mentioned injuries." They have had a lot of injuries, but you're Manchester United Football Club. You should have the depth of squad to deal with it. But I should say, Wan-Bissaka out for another month, Luke Shaw, Malacia's been out for a long time, and now Martinez, who I think is, an excellent centre-half, real kind of mean kind of muscle about him. even though he's quite short. He's going to be out for 2 to 3 months. So it is a big loss. I have to mention it, but I think they should have the depth to deal with it because every club has injury problems. Have to talk about Harry Maguire. I think he isn't the problem himself, but him and how he has had his Manchester United career and is dealing with his Manchester United career now is a good example of how United got themselves in trouble. They had to overpay to get him, £80 million. He wasn't worth that. He's a good player, but he's not a great player. They then gave him 250 grand a week, and now they're surprised that he doesn't want to make a move to West Ham, when West Ham can't afford to pay 250 grand a week. So Manchester United are even going to have to make up the shortfall, or he's not going to leave, and that's what happened. And now it's sad, really. He's become a bit of a laughing stock on and off the pitch, and the fans, it adds to the pressure in the club. The fans, are on tenterhooks each time he gets the ball. And it's a shame because he's a better player than he's showing at Man United. But, you can't overpay for players, especially when it comes to wages, and then expect them to leave as soon as you don't want them anymore. So, they're the reasons why I think Manchester United are so bad at the moment. Interesting run of fixtures coming up. Galatasaray at home, Brentford at home, Sheffield United away, Copenhagen at home, and then Manchester City at home. Obviously, a famous meme about when Rio Ferdinand, and I think it was Owen Hargreaves on what was BT Sport, got up a list of their fixtures and said, we're going to win all these games, Ollie's at the wheel and stuff. But those fixtures do look potentially winnable. And if they can get some momentum behind them and start playing better football, and I feel like I said at the top, Ten Hag needs to make a decision. What is the style? If you can do that, then I think they can turn the season around. And I think they'll be there or thereabouts for the top 4 by the end of the season, as long as they stick with it. If the fans put the pressure on the club so much and the results don't improve and Ten Hag loses his job, I think that could be really interesting, because I don't know where Manchester United would go next. Where do you think they would go next? What do you think is wrong at Manchester United? Let me know in the comments below. Please drop this a like and subscribe to the channel at Barnaby Slater _. Thanks for watching.